Hi guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. In this video we're going to be looking at Data East Arcade 2. This is collection number 12 from the Purple Arcade collections on Evercade. Let's get started. Okay guys, we have Data East Arcade 2, 12 more games. Amazingly we've waited a couple of years now for a second arcade collection from Data East. It seems an awful long time since the last one. I'm surprised we've got it now, but anyway, we've got 12 more games. No idea what the 12 games are looking at the cartridge, so we're going to have to open up the manual and have a look. Again, I'd just like to highlight a little bit of an oversight. There's no detail of what the games are on the collection. You only got 3 games highlighted, maybe the most well-known ones: Crudbuster, Midnight Resistance, Super Burger Time. More arcade games, probably ideal for your Evercade Alpha if you've got one of them. Not so sure about the Super Pockets, but we'll try and have a look at all of those options at some point as well. Maybe not all in the same video. So let's have a quick look at the cartridge. This looks very cool, and we've also got the manual. Oh, and we've got more stickers. Wow, that's the second cart in a row that I've looked at that we actually have stickers. So we've got stickers for Cliffhanger, Edward Randy, a Data East sticker, we got Crudbusters, Express Raider, Joe and Mac Returns, and we got Peter Pepper's Ice Cream Factory. Don't say that too fast. So let's have a look at the manual first, before we have a quick play on the games on the XP, then the VS. We've got some information about Data East, founded in 1976, such a long time ago. Got Peter Pepper's Ice Cream Factory. I think this was the sequel to Burger Time. We got B-Wings. We got Shootout. We got Last Mission. Express Raider. SRD Super Darwin. This is the sequel to Darwin 4078, I believe, which is on the first Data East arcade cart. Got Midnight Resistance. And we also have the console version on the Data East console cart. We've got Crudbusters, which is obviously the arcade version. We have the console version, Two Crud Dudes, which is on the console cart as well. Trio the Punch, Never Forget Me, a really bizarre title. Looking forward to checking that out, but it is very bizarre. Super Burger Time, maybe the best version of Burger Time. Edward Randy, really cool, sort of Indiana Jones style adventure movie style game. And we've got Joe and Mac Returns, a single screen sort of platforming style game. Anyway guys, let's have a quick look at the EXP and then we'll play on the VS. So plays fantastically well on the EXPR. Probably worth noting here that one of the games does use the shoulder buttons, which is Midnight Resistance. That's a little bit tricky to get your head round, so for the Super Pocket purposes that might not be the best, but overall it's the only one game. There are a few games in vertical aspect ratio but might not be perfectly suited for the Super Pocket. Now probably ideal for this cart would be playing it on the Evercade Alpha. It was brilliant on that. A few of the games, especially maybe Edward Randy, which I think is probably the standout game for me, was a great blast and fun to play on the Alpha. It looked amazing, played fun. It's just an absolute blast to play through. So first up we've got B-Wings, a shoot 'em up from 1984. It's in vertical aspect ratio, so will be ideal for the tatty mode on the EXP if you have one, or even a swivel monitor for your VS if you're lucky enough to have one of those. This one is unspectacular and sometimes a little bit frustrating. It's not clear where the enemies are at times, whether they're sort of in the air or they're sort of on the surface. You can dive down to the surface, but it just causes a lot of complications. Now if you shoot this thing that's flying there attached, you can attach some wings, and then you get some extra firepower. You can then detach these wings if something's grabbed onto you and sort of messing about with your controls. You can detach that, but this game is okay. I just found it a little bit frustrating because if you die you pretty much have to start all over again. But yeah, it's okay, just unspectacular. And the other thing about this game, it is really, really tough. Something that's quite apparent with a lot of the arcade games, it's just unforgivingly tough. So this is where we definitely need access to the sort of dip switches. Hopefully that will come at some point to try and fiddle with these games and make them a little bit easier in some aspects, because it's really, really frustrating. So next up we got Crude Busters, also known as Two Crude or Two Crude Dudes, and it's supposed to be like a spiritual successor to Bad Dudes. And we also have the Mega Drive or Genesis version on the console collection that we got way back in 2020, and personally I actually prefer that version because it's nowhere near as frustrating. Now, certainly graphically and maybe the sounds wise, the arcade version is far superior, but it's so difficult. I do remember playing this game in the arcades. This is probably the only game in this collection I actually did play back in the early 90s in the arcades, and it definitely pulled you in because you got the sort of larger than life characters, the sound effects, and the interesting ability to pick up different items you see, and also pick up the enemies and throw them, which was always fascinating. But I remember putting 10 pence in the arcades in these games, and I never lasted long at all, ever, at any point I played it. This was a massive coin guzzler, and it was just notoriously tough. And if you're playing through this game, it'll become very apparent, especially if you get to the bosses at the end of each level. It's horrible and horrific. No doubt, if you were in the arcade, you would probably spend pounds upon pounds actually to try and make progress past even a boss. And this is another game that we definitely need those dip switches for. So Blaze, hopefully please get those things out there and give us the option to maybe dumb down the difficulty a little bit in these games, because they feel like to me that they're set way too high as standard, and when you're playing these in your home, there's no need for them to be coin guzzlers anymore. We want to have fun and enjoy playing them rather than being completely frustrated. And as much as I like this game, it becomes a very horrible experience to actually play through, especially as you can see, you get to these bosses, you just find yourself dying second after second after second, and it just becomes a boring, horrible experience. Nice game, great sounds, great graphics, but a very frustrating experience. So we definitely need dip switches, please, to make some of these games a little bit more accessible and even a little bit more enjoyable to actually play through. Right, next up we've got Edward Randy, although I think interestingly it is also known as Cliffhanger for some reason, and this one is a nice breath of fresh air on this cart, and definitely my most favourite game from this collection. It is such a joy to play, and after playing Crude Buster, which is a massively frustrating experience, it's very different in this game. It's nowhere near as frustrating, or maybe it's not as challenging either. You don't die time after time after time. It's just a joy to play. You just enjoy it for what it is. It's an action adventure style game in the sort of style of maybe Indiana Jones type of thing. It's such a joy. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It does go on a little bit. The levels just keep going on and on. It's very unrelenting. It just keeps on coming at you. All the enemies just keep coming. It seems like millions of sort of enemies just coming at you all the time. But yeah, it's still a joy. Great sound effects, great action, lovely looking graphics. I absolutely love this one. It is a lot of fun, and this is what arcade games should be all about. Not frustration, but fun, and one you want to come back to and play time and time again. This one is absolutely fantastic. I loved it. Next up we've got Express Raider, an action game from 1987, which surprised me sort of looking at the graphics and the gameplay style. It felt a lot older than that. So the idea in this first stage is you're trying to rob a train, and then you sort of go on top of the train, take out some of the bad guys, and eventually get to steal the money. But yeah, this one's a little bit limited, a bit frustrating. You get punch and kick. You can also do a sort of flying kick as well. Best sort of idea is to try and mix up those moves, because it feels like the computer does learn your moves and basically choreographs them, and makes the thing a heck of a lot more frustrating. I have to say I didn't really enjoy playing this game much. I just got a bit bored, a bit frustrated. The controls were a bit unresponsive at times. Yeah, it does feel as old as it looks. So the idea, you can see you've got a red bar at the top of the screen here, is try and fill it up so that the enemy then falls off the train. If they keep hitting you more, your red bar will go left and obviously deplete, and you'll then fall off the train and go back. If you take too long, you get a bomb planted on the train and you will then lose a life as well. So don't take too long. For me, this is okay. It's unspectacular. It's not the best. It's okay. So a little tip for the horse riding section, where you need to shoot the sort of guys on the train. You can actually move the cursor there up and down. I didn't realise this the first umpteen times I played it and died, that you could actually move the cursor while you're shooting at the guys on the train. But anyway, this game, it's okay. I got really frustrated with it, and then thusly not enjoying it as much as maybe some other people might. It's very old school, a little bit frustrating, and the controls at times I felt were really unresponsive, so not a lot of fun. Okay, next up we've got Joe and Mac Returns. Apparently this is the 4th entry in the Joe and Mac series, but this one is actually a single screen elimination platform format. We have got tons of these games on Evercade, and honestly if you've played one of them, you've pretty much played them all. They all pretty much follow the same idea. In this instance you sort of club all the enemies, bag them up and then throw them across the screen. It's pretty much like every other single screen game, but there's nothing really wrong with it. Graphically it's nice, great sound as well. It's fun, I guess, but it's very limited. There is boss levels as well, which are pretty spectacular looking and probably a little bit of fun, but as I said, I think we have far too many of these type of games on Evercade, and they all seem pretty similar, and most of them are, I guess, just like this one. They're fun but limited. So next up we've got Last Mission, and it almost feels like a sequel of sorts to B-Wings that we played earlier on in the video. And it's a multi-directional shoot 'em up, and you have to try and blast as many enemies as you possibly can and fill up the star meter at the bottom of the screen. You can see the star meter where it says enemy. The idea is fill as many of them as you can and it will slowly and gradually fill up. But the frustrating thing is here, if you die at any point, you'll have to start the thing all over again, so you're going to have to spam those save states to try and make progress, because it gets very frustrating. There's nothing worse than getting near the end and then having to start all over again. That thing I'm just about to kill here, you get extra weapons to your abilities, which sometimes are good, sometimes are bad. Like the one I'm using just now is absolutely useless, but there are some really nice sort of additions that make it worthwhile seeking them out, because once you get to the sort of boss battles at the end, you will definitely need them. So once that sort of meter at the bottom does fill up, you'll eventually get a boss battle. It just immediately appears, and here it's here, and this is tough as heck. Obviously there's different ways to actually kill this one. I found the best way is probably going at it diagonal, because if you go at it head on, you're going to get taken out by the missiles. This one's okay, it's not the worst game on here for sure, but it's very, very frustrating and quite challenging. But it's not too bad, to be honest, it's not bad at all. So next up we've got Midnight Resistance, an arcade run and gun action style game. Now I have to obviously make you aware that there is no save states for this game. They are currently not supported. It is mentioned in the manual, and as you can see here, it is mentioned in the description of the game. I'm not entirely sure why they've done that. Now I know sometimes save states do cause a little bit of corruption in the arcade games, especially because they were never designed to have sort of save states. The two games that I could recall caused issues with were Alligator Hunt and Thunderhoop 2, where in Alligator Hunt, if you used save states and then obviously came back at a later state, sometimes the music wouldn't kick in until you'd maybe finished that level. Thunderhoop 2, it caused all sorts of crazy things. I think it's been fixed now right enough, but if you sort of tried to use save states, come back, the level would stop, nothing would happen, none of the enemies would come on. Which was an absolute disaster. Now, as I said, these games were not really meant for save states, so sometimes these things do happen. Hopefully there will be a fix in place, because otherwise right now you're going to have to try and finish this game from start to finish. The best thing about it though, you can just insert a coin and continue from wherever you die, so it's not a massive problem. But this game is a tough cookie. Really, really frustrating. I remember playing this on the C64. I loved it. The music was fantastic. It's got great music, which brings me to another point. I'm going to have to play alternative music over this video, because the music in this game has somehow been copyrighted, and I don't want to get a copyright strike for that. So if you're wondering where the music is, it's because of copyright YouTube nonsense that I have to remove it. But yeah, this game is great, but very, very tricky. It could be down to some of the control methods, which I think in the arcades it used sort of two sticks, if I believe, or some other different way to control it. On the Evercade version, we need to use the shoulder buttons L1 and R1 to rotate the aiming direction of the gun. Now that sounds okay in theory, but sometimes when it's getting a little bit sort of manic and there's lots of things happening, trying to sort of get the correct direction by pressing the shoulder buttons, it gets a little bit crazy, and I usually, in my error, hold down the button rather than just pressing it. If you hold it down, it basically just goes round really quickly. The idea is probably to just press it quickly once to get the direction you need. But is it the best way of controlling it? Maybe, maybe not. I don't really know what the alternatives would be. But based on that, it makes the game pretty tricky to actually play. But sort of disregarding that, this game is unbelievably tough. The further you get, now this section here, I've deliberately left this completely unedited because it's so frustrating to make progress. Now this isn't an Evercade problem, this was the game problem. It was the same on the C64, it was horrible to actually get past this section. And the only way I got past these sections in the C64 version was actually cheating and using, typing in loads of pokes so you got infinite health or infinite sort of lives to actually make progress, because it's unbelievably tough, frustrating as heck, and definitely we need sort of dip switches to try and make these games a little bit easier and thusly more fun to play. But the best thing, as I said, you can just keep inserting a coin and continue from wherever you get wherever you die, so it's never really a massive problem. But the game becomes a little bit of an unplayable mess because you just keep on dying, the enemies just keep on appearing. Yeah, it's not the most fun game because of those aspects, which is a shame because it has all the elements to be an absolute classic. And okay, a lot of people might see it as a classic, but for me, the further you get into the game, the more the frustrations actually bear. Yeah, and there is a lot of slowdown at this particular section of the game. I'm not really sure if that's an Evercade issue, emulation issue, or that's just how it was. I don't remember playing the actual arcade version at the time. I think there was slowdown in the C64 version at this particular point as well, but just bear in mind there is a lot of slowdown at these sections here where things get a little bit messy. And don't jump down too quickly because you need to wait till the game actually loads in. If you jump down too quickly, you will instantly die. And remember to collect the keys that the bad guys drop as well, because you collect the keys, you can use them to upgrade your weapons at the end of each stage. But yeah, I like the game, but it's frustrating, has a lot of frustrating elements, and I probably would rather go back and play the Genesis version, I suppose, because it probably was a little bit more fun to play. But yeah, it's okay, but yeah, frustrating. And that slowdown is pretty awful at this particular section here. I'm on the fence with this one, to be honest. Frustrating, frustrating. Okay, after that excitement, we've got Peter Pepper's Ice Cream Factory. What a mouthful. And this is the original star of Burger Time. It's obviously a spin-off from that game. from round about the same sort of time period, and the idea is to try and push the ice cream onto the cones and do as many as you can to complete the levels. But this game is horrible. I really don't enjoy it at all. I found it really difficult to actually make progress and sort of get some decent game footage, but I couldn't do it. I really got frustrated. And again, I'm not entirely sure why they've kept this Deco cassette system loading as part of the game. They could easily just remove that. I'm sure they've just left it in there just because that was part of the history of the game, I guess. But yeah, this game isn't fun. Is not fun one bit, and it's one of those things I'd rather they just left this one on the shelf and never bothered with it. It's just horribly difficult to control. The buttons are again a little bit unresponsive. I felt trying to move those cones the ice cream onto the cones was tough because the enemies are just constantly on you, and the only way to sort of try and get past them is maybe jumping over them, but they just appear right at your feet, causing so much frustration. I don't like this game at all. Okay, sadly we're going from one frustrating game to the next one. This is SRD, or otherwise known as Super Duper Real Darwin. And yeah, we've got the other game, Darwin 4078, on the Data East Arcade Collection, and that one is just the same frustrating experience. Now, frustrating because if you die at some certain points, you'll just get sent all the way back to the beginning of the game. So regardless, it is so frustrating. It would be nice just to continue from where you left off. This game is tough as heck. And I'm no good at it, so maybe it's just me, I'm just not good enough to actually play this particular game. It is extremely challenging and frustrating, but if you like your shooters, maybe you'll get further than I did. I couldn't make progress at all and just kept getting frustrating, and I tried and I tried and I tried but could not do it. And I had to stop because I was getting frustrated and starting to swear all sorts of crazy things that I've probably not uttered for years. But anyway, that's how it is. I didn't enjoy this one, I didn't enjoy the experience, and I had to stop playing it because it was definitely turning me into some kind of crazy green monster guy. Okay, next up we've got Shootout. This is a third-person shooter game from 1985. Now, as much as I've had frustrations with some of the games on this cart, this game is by far the worst and most trickiest game to actually control. I really didn't enjoy it. It is brutally, horribly difficult, and I've no idea why Blaze decided to put this game on this collection, because it is absolutely rubbish. It really is rubbish. And now that's just my opinion. You might enjoy it. You can go through the target practice if you want, but it's absolutely pointless. It serves no purpose apart from maybe trying to get you used to the controls, but it doesn't really matter. You'll never get used to the controls in this game. So you can move left and right a little bit and then use the sort of diagonals to try and aim at the enemies that appear on the screen, but good luck trying to avoid the fire. It comes at you as fast as a real bullet and there's no way of avoiding it, and you'll die time and time again and wonder what the heck happened. This game is horrible. I hated it. It's rubbish. It should never have been put on this collection. It's just rubbish. Right, finally we've got a decent game to play. We've got Super Burger Time, and this is the sequel obviously to the original Burger Time. It's quite a good long way after the original game was released, and you play Chef Peter Pepper Jr. They certainly love their alliteration, don't they? But this game is a lot of fun. I prefer playing this to the original Burger Time. You don't get stuck in the ladders as much as you do in the original version, so it's definitely nowhere near as frustrating, and it's actually a pleasant experience to play through this one. The idea is basically to stamp on the burger, sort of the top of it, and make yourself this burger all the way to the bottom. But those enemies do keep spawning in all the time. It does tend to get a little bit frustrating because of that, so you'll definitely use up life after life, but you can just keep inserting continues and carry on, so the frustration is kept to an absolute minimum. Some of the levels actually scroll from left to right, which is interesting. I got a little bit confused when that happened, and there's also boss battle fights at the end of every sort of world that you encounter. But yeah, I enjoyed this one. It is really nice. The only thing I didn't really like is sometimes I felt the colour, the graphics are a little bit messy. There's probably trying to do too much, and sometimes it was difficult to see the characters and the enemies because there's probably too much going on. The graphics are just a tad messy in my view, but still it's a fun game to play, and for sure one of the better games on this collection. Okay, finally we have Trio the Punch Never Forget Me. Never heard of this game ever, but it's a sort of beat 'em up style game with an amazing 35 levels to actually clear. This one is bizarre, weird, and probably not one of the games that you would generally see in a Western audience. Typically does seem apt for the sort of Japanese market, I guess is what it was maybe aimed at. It's bizarre, it's weird. It's just crazy stuff. So the idea is to try and clear the enemies, collect some of the hearts, and then you get it's kind of odd boss battles. There's a lot of variety and differences in the different bosses that you get. You've got 3 characters to choose from as well. But yeah, weird. Certainly just weird. I don't know the best way to describe this. Sometimes it's a little bit frustrating. There is a special move you can use as well by pressing the Y button. It's called a sub-weapon attack. Which is just bizarre. If you look at the screenshot on the actual cover of the game, you get those big massive faces characters, which I don't know, utterly weird. There's no other way of describing this game apart from being weird, but it's still fun to play. It's just absolutely wacky as heck. Okay guys, final thoughts on Data East Arcade 2. It's been a long time coming, but yeah, I really think I would happily have waited even longer, to be honest. I think it's a very average collection. There's a lot of very average to poor games on here. There's a few decent ones, to be fair. I really enjoyed Edward Randy. Super Burger Time was a lot of fun. There's some classics like Midnight Resistance, but is it really fun to play on here? Crid Busters is just a frustrating experience as well. Yeah, there's a lot of forgettable average games on here, I'm afraid, and probably one I couldn't really recommend to buy.